Hey guys, today I just want to make this video real quickly, and it's going to be about addiction and how to overcome addiction. Much through my life, I've dealt with many different forms of addiction, and I want to make a video today here to help you guys along if you have an addiction and you want to overcome it and how to do it. So, firstly, before I begin, I just want to break down addiction into a broader definition of the term addiction. When we hear addiction, mostly think of just a drug addiction. Most people are addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, pot, shrooms, acid, molly, whatever these drugs are. People usually associate addiction with just drugs. Now, my definition of addiction is broader than that. I associate addiction with a variety of activities. Any activity, perhaps, that you need to do every single day to feel fulfillment. So, it can go towards not just drugs, but porn, video games, masturbation, really any activity that you feel you need to do every single day in order to feel fulfilled as a human being. That is what I call addiction. So, now that we know what addiction is, I'm going to break down what happens when we get addicted to something. So, there's really three things you need to be aware of with addiction. First thing is going to be the activity itself. So, we can use cigarettes, for instance, smoking. We have this point here where you have an addiction to smoking cigarettes. Why do you smoke? Because it makes you feel good. It gives you a stress reliever. You've had this bad day at work, so you need to, smoke real quickly, and it allows you to relax. That would be the habit that we are addicted to. Now you have the median, the people, places, or things, the line in between that supports that habit, allows you to smoke. You surround yourself with people, places, and things that support that habit and makes it feel like it's okay to be involved with. That's the median. And then finally, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the emotional fulfillment you get from the addiction itself. Now, out of those three, the most important one that you have control over isn't the places or things. It isn't the cigarettes themselves either, but it is the emotional fulfillment you gain from doing the habit. And that is what we are addicted to. We aren't addicted to the activity itself of doing it. We're addicted to the emotional fulfillment that we gain from actually doing it. The fulfillment, the satisfaction, the happiness, or the joy the activity brings us of doing. And this applies, again, all forms of addiction, not just drugs, maybe porn, masturbation, video games, whatever you are addicted to, or that you feel you need to do every single day. We only are addicted to the emotional fulfillment that those activities can to solve for us. So now that we know that, how do we overcome that addiction? How do we separate ourselves from the activity, the median, and the emotional fulfillment and actually overcome the addiction that we're addicted to? Well, at least in my life, I've been addicted to many things. Predominantly video games, porn, masturbation, pot, drugs. And I've always found it's been very difficult to overcome those habits if I surround myself with people, places, and things that support those habits. That allow me to feel like it's okay to be accepted. The emotional need, the one I was addicted to, would typically be, a social one. How can I feel accepted by the group? Okay, I need to drink alcohol or smoke pot to socially be accepted by the group and feel that social emotional need that I have to want to have friends. Or, I need my sexual fulfillment, so the only way I can fill my emotional need is by, masturbating or watching porn, as opposed to just talking with real women or actually having sexual attraction to an actual woman. It's the only way I actually felt fulfillment. So what you have to do to overcome your addiction is be able to separate yourself. Pull yourself back from the entire activity that you're doing and really break down why you're doing it. What is that emotional need that you are fulfilling when doing that activity? Because here's what happens. We have our emotional need, right? Then we have our median, our people, places, and things that support that need, and then we have the activity itself. And every time you do that activity, yes, it may suppress the emotional need to be expressed. It may be anger, happiness, stress, depression, whatever it is. You're bearing that down. Now, emotional energy doesn't just disappear after you do that. This is why people become addicted, because then it comes back. So what do people do when it comes back? They bury it down with more of the same addiction over and over and over again. It's kind of like a death spiral. And it continuously gets worse and worse and worse and progressive for decades it happens for. Now again, emotional energy doesn't just disappear. It oftentimes transmutates itself or manifests itself into other more destructive and more harmful forms of expression. It may be harder drug addictions, more of a porn addiction, more of a heavier masturbation addiction, whatever it is. These forms of expression oftentimes manifest themselves in more destructive forms, which then lead to suicide, school shootings, assaults, depression, whatever it is. And people don't know how to get out. It literally is they put themselves in a box. So you have to just be aware of what is the emotional baggage and reason why you're doing this. What is the emotional fulfillment that you're trying to reach from doing this activity? Now that once you know that emotional baggage you need, you can start working your way to get out of it. And most importantly, you need to then realize what is the median places or things or people that you're surrounding yourselves with that support that emotional baggage. So for me, with video games, it was, okay, I need to accomplish something. I need to feel like I'm doing something with my life. So I need to play this video game and reach a level of fulfillment by being this level boss or thing that can allow me to feel like I'm fulfilling something. So I would do that. And I did that for many decades because it made me feel good. It made me feel like I was accomplishing something with my life. And I would involve myself with these video games as an effort to feel fulfillment. But I wasn't really accomplishing anything. In my mind I was, but in the real world I wasn't. So what I did was I was looking at the median, which was my laptop, my video game addiction, my Xbox, whatever I had, and I removed it from my life. I took that thing that allowed me to fulfill the habit or the activity that was resulting in my fulfillment, and I removed it. I gave away my Xbox to my friends for free. I got rid of my computer and I gave it to a little kid because I didn't need it anymore. I wanted to get past my addiction of video games. My laptop, I had video games on there. I uninstalled all those video games. I gave up. I said, screw this. I'm just going to uninstall them and remove myself from the activity and take that energy that I could be wasting on the video game and manifest it into another form of fulfillment. Kind of like this video. And then finally, last but not least, you have the activity itself. So the activity brings the emotional fulfillment. You need to replace that activity with something else that can equal that fulfillment. So for me, it's making this video. As opposed to accomplishing and beating a boss in a video game, I'm going to create this video to help other people because I feel more fulfillment serving others than I do my own selfish desires through a video game. And expressing how I feel as opposed to just merely, covering up my emotional impact. So here's the problem. You have the median and you have the actual addiction itself. And you have people and places and things that support those addictions. You need to be willing to also separate yourselves from them as well. So like I said before, if you have a social emotional need or some kind of sexual need, you're going to surround yourselves with people, places, and things that are going to support that habit. So you actually need to separate yourself as well from those things that support that habit. You need to be willing to take a step back and separate yourself completely from those people, places, or things that don't support your willingness to want to become sober from the activity. Because you need to be willing to put yourselves alone and separate yourself from those people, places, and things. And it can be scary to do that. To go in alone, to separate yourselves from people and places and things that you called your friends, that made you feel good, it can be hard. It really can be. But for the most part, if the people, place, or things don't support what you're trying to accomplish with your life, you don't need it. Just get rid of it. And then once you're able to pull yourself away from those people, places, or things, your need for doing that emotional, or that actual activity will disappear. As long as you can, again, replace it with something else or realize you don't need it. And fulfill that emotional need in another way. Now, of course, the other thing you need to look at, too, is a willingness of time. Because addiction, again, isn't just doing something once. It's doing something over and over and over again until your brain becomes programmed to do that activity. So, when you want to break the habit or the cycle of doing that, you have to be willing to give yourself enough time to break it. Because here's what happens. People want to say quit smoking, right? They'll stop for a week and then they'll quit. And then, they'll re-involve themselves back into that median, people, places, or things that support that habit, and they'll fall right back into the addiction. They fall back into the lifestyle that they were living before. So, you have to give yourself enough time so you can finally reprogram your brain to let go. Now, if you're heavily addicted to something where you do the activity several times a day, and you can't stop because you have these urges, you need to be willing to allow your brain enough time to reprogram itself with something else. Another form, another activity that can remove that destructive habit or identity that you identify with, or activity you identify with another one. And it can be hard. It really can be. It's one of the most challenging things because it's so easy just to give into your urges when they pop up. But if you have a willingness to want to overcome your urges, even if you do give in, just forgive yourself and restart. Go back from the top and just begin again and try again. It could take you several weeks or months or even years to overcome your addiction. But as long as you have a willingness to want to do it, you will eventually succeed. As long as you're willing again to separate yourself from everything else that you're doing and just focus on just the emotional fulfillment you need to reach when you do the activity. Other than that, though, the biggest thing would be just patience. Again, really just patience when trying to overcome this, because you're human. You're going to give into your urges. You're going to have temptations and people and places and things you don't want to give up, and it'll take you time to come to terms with that. And you have to be okay with giving stuff up and letting it go and realizing you don't need it. It's what I've had to do. I've lost friends, or people who I thought were my friends who would support my habits, and I've had to separate myself completely from their lives. And it hasn't been forever. I still see them from time to time, but it's just I don't choose to associate myself with them because I see the destructive habits that they involve themselves with, and I'm not interested in doing that. I'm interested in building the life that I want, reaching my own emotional fulfillment through actually doing productive means and offering help for people. And it's taken me years to figure that out. But other than that, though, guys, that is my video. Take care. Have a good one. Good luck if you have addiction. You can do it. I believe in you.